Well, hello there. Welcome back. It's been a really hot day, and I think it's probably still, oh gosh, 87, 88 degrees Fahrenheit still, and we're after 10 o'clock at night. Well, that's why I'm not wearing a jacket or vest or tie. You'll forgive me, I know, because you're kind-hearted that way. I have a couple of things I want to show you. And the first is this beautiful Manfred Hortig pipe. I have been wanting one of these snail pipes. And this is the snailiest snail pipe. Boy, look at that. How Hortig did a really good job with that. He did a really good job with all those pipes that we have from him, and I'm really delighted. And I got to meet him, and I got to meet his lovely wife, Angelica. They are amazingly sweet people. They are very, very kind. And I was very taken with them. Oh, sounds like the neighbors are starting up with the artillery game. It's to be expected. Why? Oh, I have no idea. But one just expects that kind of thing. I have in this bag some 1980s Balkan Sobrani original white tin. And we had got it with the things that we got from Keith Vermillion's estate. And we are gradually selling off all of those tins of 40-year-old tobacco. And it's not going to be difficult. They're really sought after things that are in high demand. He had good taste. God rest him. Well, this tin just didn't make it through the passage of time. You could shake it. It was one of those 8-ounce tins. You could shake it, and it. The bottom sounded okay, but the top, and that's where this is from, didn't sound so good. It was rattly a bit, and that's not good. That's a bad sign. So we opened the tin, and we resuscitated this tobacco. And so I knew that I wanted to smoke some of this, of course. My mouth was watering the first time I saw the tin, because I loved that back then, and I love it still today. It has a bit of the smell of church incense and the Three Kings brand, you know the kind. The resin gum they put on the charcoal in the thurible. And then also, it has a slight sweetness that it leaves even on the lips. But it's not what you'd say a sweet tobacco. There's Latakia in it, and it's Syrian Latakia. And it says, Bowlful, it's 40-year-olds here in Latakia. And what bowl am I using? Why, yes, I'm smoking that Cheriton Underbore. This is the night to smoke the Underbore because I have some really, really, really special tobacco. So it needed a really, really, really special pipe. And these two just went together. So, bon fumage. That's just lovely. That is really lovely. Pipe's lovely. The tobacco's lovely. And just in case you're wondering, Silvio, my friend, I did leave the metal gimmick in the pipe. I will prove it. Look, there it is, that metal gimmick. That is supposed to draw the nastiness out, thus precluding the use of quite so many pipe cleaners. Now, you do not, but I do, live where pipe cleaners are inexpensive and readily available. I sell them for a living. So, boy, we got plenty of pipe cleaners. So I did want to tell you a story tonight. And first I'm going to excuse myself. Please pardon me. It's allergy season. It seems like it's always allergy season. I used to get 2 weeks off in January, but last year and the year before, I don't know, whatever was blooming bloomed year-round. Well, the story I meant to tell you was sort of about my father. And it's sort of about my brother and me. And it's sort of about my mother. My mother, at the time, was in her 20s. And my sister had been born, but was only, I think, about 2 years old, and she had been sick, very sick. She's fine now, hale and hearty. But it was rather a close call. Just the year before, and of course that takes its toll on a mother's nerves, and so does being at home, unable to drive because she didn't know how to drive, and basically she was just kind of we were all stuck together, and it was a summer day. I was home from school. I think I was in the second or maybe the third grade, and I'm going to think it was the second, which would mean that my brother was about to start school the coming year. And we were pretty much all day raising hell the way that only 5 and 7-year-old child can. And we were really, really, really loud, and we didn't want to be quiet, and we wanted to chase each other through the house like savages bent on murder, and whatever else it was that we were doing, I don't recall. But those were the sorts of things we did. And those were the sorts of pressures that were on Mother, and she just had a really bad day. And sometimes people do have just a really bad day because of one thing and another, and it all adds up, and suddenly you're having a really bad day, a rough day, a nervous day, something that well, my father was working, I think, just 2 jobs back then. There were occasions when he'd work 3. Put food on the table, and that kind of thing. And he came home after working all day and most of the night, and my mother said, "Take the boys into their room and beat them until they are good," or some words to that extent. Now, a man comes home from work, he's tired, and really and truly, we, all of us, my mother and my brother and my sister and I, we were the reason that he was spending all that time at work. And if he could have, he'd have spent more time with us. But he didn't get that chance. And so into the bedroom we go. And my father explains all of that to us, and in our little brains, which weren't really such stupid brains, they were just stubborn. We understood his tiredness. We understood his disappointment, which rather hurt us. The thought of disappointing so good a man, one who loved us so much. Then, of course, he explained how our loud behavior, our dreadful behavior, had affected our mother, and that, she loved us too, and we really needed to be better children. And now he was faced with the most unpleasant prospect of all, which was that of uh, giving us a whooping. And so I took off his belt, and, you know, that's a frightful and uncomfortable moment. And he said, "Yell as loud as you can." And he beat the hell out of the bed. Blow after blow after blow after blow. It was a frightening sound. And my brother and I let loose with all the blood-curdling horror that we could. Meantime, my mother is standing on the other side of the door, crying and begging my father to stop. My father stops, puts his belt back on, and he says, "It's not going to go this way again. Do you understand what you did?" "Yes." "Do you understand why you must not do it again?" "Yes." He said, "Good. I want to eat some supper." And he opened the door and took my mother in his arms and comforted her. And she fed him his supper. And we, very quietly, as though we were in on some sort of conspiracy, got into bed. And I swear we said our prayers. And we closed our eyes and we went to sleep as quickly as we could. Well, you know, we all learned something that night. And what did we learn? Well, we learned mercy. We learned what the absence of mercy, the absence of love and care, what those were. And I mean, we had acted, my brother and I, we had acted carelessly. Well, we were little children. And in particular, we were little boy children. And little boy children are loud, noisy, squirmy, jumpy, runny, tree climby. Wonders. And they can get on your very last nerve pretty quick. So we learned to have more mercy, to take more care. Our mother learned to have more mercy, to be a little more understanding, not only about us. I mean, she learned that she did not mean for him to beat us. And did he learn something? I don't know. I can't ask him now. I don't know if he had thought it over and planned in advance or if it just came to him in a moment of inspiration. Sometimes things do, if we know how to listen for those things. Things will come to us in a moment of inspiration. As I say, I couldn't tell you what my father learned from that experience. But he taught us, everyone, a really important lesson. And did we keep the lesson? And the answer is, we did try. We were just little. I think that's what makes us largely forgivable, is we are, comparatively, just little. So very young, all of us. All of us are very young. This pipe has 38 years on me. And I've got 22 years on the tobacco. Go figure. I suppose you could say that really and truly this is a relatively new object, full of pretty recent tobacco. It's a very pleasant experience. Unrepeatable. All of it ponderable. Well, do have mercy on one another. Good night.